Hi everybody, it's Michelle from Poochie Baby, and in this video I'm going to show you guys how I weave in all of my yarn ends as I go while I'm making any type of project, whether it's a blanket, a hat, it doesn't matter. This is how I do it now. While making a project, I always have with me, of course, my scissors and a tapestry needle. This is very important. You can find these at any place that sells sewing notions. It is the one with a very large slot to put your yarn in, and it has a blunt end. It's not pointy, it's blunt, and I always use this. And let me show you guys this. I started off with a chain 12 here just to do the demonstration and a row of double crochet. Now if I'm making a blanket and I'm going to switch out colors here, this is how I do it. I just go ahead and snip off. I pull that through and tighten it up. At the end of every row like that, when I'm changing colors, I go ahead and just weave this in right then and there, so I don't have to do it later, because when you wait to the end of a project to do it, it can be a little frustrating. You're done with the blanket if you're making a huge blanket, and the last thing you want to do is have to sit there and weave all those yarn ends at the very end. You want to be done. So I have that completed there, and I just snip it off. That's the end of that row. The only exception is I do leave the very first end, so I know where I began the blanket or whatever project I'm working on. So when I turn and I join another color, this is how I weave in this yarn when I'm adding a new color. When I go in my hook here, I make sure that I leave plenty on this end here when I pull that through to join the two colors. So I have a double strand, and I just crochet this double strand together as if it was one single strand of yarn. And I will chain 2 and start this row. You gotta kind of get used to holding on to it. Takes a little bit of practice, but it is so worth it in the end when all of your yarn ends are completely finished. So I got about 2 out of that, and I'm going to leave that little tail there and just snip it off, and I just continue down the row the way I normally do. I'll stop and just snip off that end to get rid of it. So that's gone. We'll go all the way down the row, and I'll show you once again how I do the end of the row. There are other ways for joining yarn together. You can keep your yarn going. Of course, if you're making multi-layer striped, and if you're just alternating every other row, there are other ways to weave in your yarn in. But this is if you're completely switching out colors, and you're not going to need that color again, or it's going to be very far up in your project when you need to totally get rid of that yarn. So I snip that. Pull that through. Once again, take my tapestry needle. Like I said, I always have this sitting right there. I just grab it when I'm done with the color, so I can just weave this in. Make sure to kind of stretch it out. Snip it off. I'm done with that, and here we go. One more time, I'll show you how I add the pink. I go in here, leave a very long tail, pull it through, hold both of them, and start crocheting. Like I said, it takes a little bit of practice. And I try to get it as far in as I possibly can using that double strand. In there. And then just continue on as normal. And I will snip that off. It does add a little bit of bulk to that section, but you don't really notice that whenever you finish your project. And it is so worth it. So there you go. That's how I weave in all of my ends as I'm crocheting a blanket or hat or any other project that I'm working on. If you have any questions about this or how I do it, just put it in the comments section below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Happy crocheting, and I will see you guys next time.